what it is that we're seeing as this liquidity pours into China, and as you say, they're opening up vaults all around the world. Well, it's due to the very fungible nature of gold. And to me, this is a game changer when we see that kind of stuff going on. And the very fact that you're talking about China backing the one with gold, and they need to buy gold, and they are accumulating gold, and they're accumulating it at the West's expense. What are you seeing there?
Well, let's be honest, I'm not suggesting at the moment the yuan's trading more internationally than the dollar. No, but it's increasing significantly, whilst it's very clear de-dollarization is a reality. There are still people, but increasingly less so, trying to pretend that isn't the case, but it is. And there is a lot of now data that supports that viewpoint very eloquently.
Yeah, and SIPs, I mean, I don't think most people realize the SIPs already interconnects with like 4,900 banking institutions. It's growing every day. And my understanding is that those particular SIPs settlement transactions overtook SWIFT in April.
Yeah, it could well be. I mean, it is growing hugely. And really, when you look at China alone, I think in 2024, by the end of 2024, probably about 45% of China's trade with other currencies was then settled in yuan. It doesn't mean the rest are dollars, absolutely not. And that's more than double what it was at the end of 2022. So there is this huge increase in trade. It's rather like the Saudis and the Chinese in terms of trading in oil. I mean, Saudi's interesting because they joined BRICS, but then kind of claimed they weren't in BRICS. They are, but they're keeping a low profile almost. They attend meetings, but don't actually officially admit they're in BRICS. But in terms of trading in oil with the Chinese, there's definitely a component that's now traded in yuan. And this is why China has effectively opened up its gold trading market. It wants to open up vaults in the likes of Saudi Arabia. And this goes back to something we put out on YouTube, which was China effectively did announce the gold backing of its currency because it said in international trade that the yuan is fully convertible into gold. This is why they're opening vaults in Hong Kong. They want to do it in Saudi Arabia. Now, why would they do it in Saudi Arabia? Because if China and Saudi Arabia are trading in the yuan, then if the Saudis want to, they can either take that yuan and spend it, or they can take the yuan and say, we'd like it converted into gold. And that's equally possible. And there are no restrictions in place, which is, for me, if it's fully convertible, that's the very definition of gold back. Now, not a lot was said about it. It's been pretty quiet. There was some attention to it in the Chinese media. I know people over there who said to me it'd be quite helpful if you put that out and explain what's going on, which we did. And it's reality. And it might not square up with what people like to believe to be true, but it is, and it is by definition a gold-backed yuan on that basis. Now, will countries avail themselves of that opportunity? Yes, they will do in the future. But China was never going to sit there and go, well, we've got a gold-backed yuan and we're going to tell the world. They'll just quietly put a mechanism in place, and global south countries can either take that yuan and spend it however they want to, or they can therefore just say, no, we'd like to exchange it for gold. And those possibilities are now in place, and this is why you will see China open vaults up all over the world to satisfy the need for countries who, rather than saying, well, I'm going to get the gold from Hong Kong and then I'm going to have to ship it back to Saudi, we have the facility in Saudi. There you go. You can just take the gold, or you can leave it vaulted there. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. And they won't have to wait 7 years like the Germans did to get, what was it, about 300 tons of gold. They can get it instantly. Well, within whatever the contractual agreement is, but it's not even weeks, and it's certainly not years.
Yeah, and I think as liquidity, and obviously as physical market liquidity flows into the West End, we have some really good connections our liquidity providers are very face China, face Russia, and obviously some of that stuff is not official because obviously there's sanctions against Russia. But I'm not saying our liquidators, but we are in contact with liquidity providers who are reliable. And I think what it is that we're seeing as this liquidity pours into China, and as you say, they're opening up vaults all around the world. Well, it's due to the very fungible nature of gold. So if you have gold vaulted in global vaults all over the world, and you have a transaction, it can be T+0 settled by simply moving it across from one vault or to the other side of the vault into that other nation's area. And of course, then it's globally fungible. So it doesn't have to move at some point. It doesn't actually have to move at all. So, because then say if it's in Singapore and it's against Brazil, then, why would you need to start shipping stuff around when it's a high quality, first tier, high quality liquid asset? It's a first tier asset. So it's cash. It's money. So to me, this is a game changer when we see that kind of stuff going on. And the very fact that you're talking about China backing the one with gold, and they need to buy gold, and they are accumulating gold, and they're accumulating it at the West's expense. What are you seeing there?
We talked about this 2.5 years ago, and it continues to grow, and there is enormous amounts of gold heading to China, Hong Kong. Also, silver continues. We spoke about that. That carries on, not just solely China, but China is buying up, as we've said then, and has done for the last 2.5 years, as much commodities as it can get its hands on. So that includes copper, it includes aluminium, it includes everything that it would regard as strategically important. It puts them in a reserve that's a matter of national security. It never discloses how much it holds. And why should it? It has no reason to do so. But at the end of the day, one of the big pushes for China in terms of wanting to internationalize the yuan is going to be eventually the capability to price commodities in the yuan. That's clearly going to be a goal. It already is to some extent. They have got odd contracts in place, like with Brazil, where they trade commodities priced in yuan. But they want to internationalize that and grow it significantly in the future. And also by taking strategic positions, it accounts for what they perceived where there'll be shortages in the future. I mean, for me, it's very obvious there are global shortages of physical silver. That's irrefutable, even from very basic international data. So partly that's to do with the Chinese and the Indians. But if you perceive there's a market where no one else is buying, which happened during the pandemic, China took the opportunity to hoover everything up they could get their hands on. And it's also worth noting with regards to the internationalization of the yuan that more and more investors are actually taking money out of places like the United States. With regards to BRICS, therefore, local currencies is the way forward. But also, there's a lot of discussions going on where you will not hear or see any discussion or development. They want to keep things quiet. Whilst in the process of developing cross-border trade, being able to look at, as you rightly point out, trading commodities outside the dollar, that's another extremely important discussion point. And basically finding ways to optimally trade with each other and to be able to take advantage of this enormous resource base they have, because it's not just, of course, the Russians who have enormous resources that are untapped. And, therefore, on that basis, it makes sense to just go about their business, keep quiet about it, don't overplay it, don't overblow it, don't antagonize the Americans too much. You might do something harebrained as far as they're concerned. But this development with the new development bank in terms of trying to massively fund investment, infrastructure projects, etc., with these loan guarantees is a huge step forward. And it's those kind of things that will eventually allow BRICS countries, because more and more want to join, there's probably another 20 or 30, that would like to join, but you have to be a bit careful with these kind of institutions that they don't grow too quickly, because then you've got to start catering for the needs of other countries who arguably you might say are not really in a position at this point in time to join. They can be observer countries, but not full members. And unlike the European Union that